Tonight, Curtly Beal found not guilty of rape, saying he's relieved the truth has come out.
A woman badly hurt by a runaway car in Randwick. Witnesses can't believe she wasn't killed.
Senior detectives take over the search for missing mum Samantha Murphy.
Barnaby Joyce explains this bizarre late-night behaviour sprawled on a Canberra footpath.
The Aussie Olympian who's agreed to get doped up for a shot at a fortune.
The radical plan to widen Parramatta Road gets stopped in its tracks.
And Sydney paints the town pink, kicking off a monster month of concerts.
Live from Sydney, 7 News with Michael Usher and Angela Cox.
Good evening. Former rugby union star Curtly Beal has been found not guilty of sexually assaulting a woman at a Bondi pub last summer.
The jury of 7 women and 5 men had barely retired when it quickly returned with the verdict, ending what Beal says has been a year from hell.
The relief was obvious, sharing a smile with his wife as they left court. Curtly Beal cleared after 14 months.
I've always maintained my innocence. My family and I have suffered a terrible year.
His trial lasted 2 weeks, but this afternoon the jury took barely an hour to find the 35-year-old is not a rapist.
Yeah, emotional, relieved. It's been a hell of a year. So, very relieved.
Beal was accused of sexually assaulting a woman in the bathroom of this Bondi pub. He admits there was oral sex, but insists it was consensual. His accuser's evidence was tearful and traumatic, but the jury didn't believe her. Is this the right result today?
Justice was certainly done, and swiftly. It has been unbearable suffering, and it really shouldn't happen to anyone. Thank you.
Beal's defence team said the footballer did feel guilt about what happened that night, but that was a guilty conscience for cheating on his wife and had nothing to do with a guilty mind over a serious criminal offence. The jury was shown security video from the Beach Road Hotel and played secret phone recordings, but Beal's lawyers argued the complainant was manipulative, accusing her of concocting the whole thing.
And I'm so glad that the truth has come out. Thanks very much.
So certainly a big loss for prosecutors and the complainant in this matter tonight. In a bizarre coincidence, her wedding is underway this weekend to the fiancé she was engaged to at the time when all of this happened. No doubt that today's result is a big blow to them. The DPP, and that means taxpayers, are now up for paying the very significant legal costs for Beal. A decision on that in April. Michael.
Andrew Denny there, thank you.
A freak accident has left a woman with serious injuries after she was struck by an out-of-control car at Randwick and sent flying through the air. She was standing beside her car just before lunch when the other vehicle came hurtling towards her.
Somewhere in this piercing collision is a woman hurled through the air on the receiving end of a car which had careered off of Oka Street and rammed right into her.
I just heard like something was accelerating, so I don't know whether someone was speeding up.
It was just after 11 this morning. The woman in her 30s was at her car door on the footpath talking to a friend when an out-of-control Hyundai hatchback went straight for her.
And I heard a woman screaming. I just picked up my phone and my keys and ran to the door straight away, called the police.
So did part of the car door, but she went much further, 10 metres or more. Her friend traumatised, but luckily unscathed. The driver was initially thought to have suffered a medical episode. The sheer force of his car only stopped by a tree.
And then I saw another guy with blood down his shirt, and I think he might have been the driver.
Both the driver and pedestrian were rushed here to St Vincent's Hospital for treatment. The woman suffered severe injuries, including multiple fractures to her legs. The driver is being tested for alcohol and drugs, charges not ruled out. The woman is in a serious but stable condition. Tom Saker, 7 News.
The Missing Persons Squad has taken over the hunt for a missing Victorian mum 6 days after she vanished on her morning run. The search area has almost doubled in size, with extra police called in as the mystery deepens.
After nearly a week of searching and nothing to show for it, police are shaking up the investigation.
I can confirm that this morning the Missing Persons Squad have taken over investigation primacy in relation to the disappearance of Samantha.
To date, detectives still have no leads on Samantha Murphy's movements since she left the family home for a run on Sunday morning.
We're in our 6th day of the operation. We've covered a lot of area so far, so we're just expanding our search area.
From today, there are more detectives assigned to the case, which becomes more desperate with each passing day.
We have not identified any suspicious or sinister circumstances. However, we do hold significant concerns for Samantha's welfare at this stage, and that is growing as the days progress.
One of the few leads police have is Samantha's last phone signal, which pinged off a local tower.
Strange that the phone hasn't pinged again. They'll be relying heavily on phone, her Apple Watch.
Samantha's husband Mick spoke with police again this morning as the investigation moved into a new stage.
I think the longer it goes on, the more sinister it becomes. So they'll be talking to friends, relatives, family to try and establish her movements.
Absolutely, that'll be a huge part of our investigation, digging into the background, working out Samantha's movements in the days leading up to her disappearance, and also the people that know her.
Geordie Wright, 7 News.
New Reserve Bank Governor Michelle Bullock has given the clearest indication yet when interest rates might be cut. In her first address to Parliament in the new role, she said relief could come before inflation falls below 3%. Some economists predict that could be as early as May.
Taking over the hot seat isn't easy. Neither is getting into it. In her first appearance before the Economics Committee as Governor, Michelle Bullock's message:
at the moment, we're reasonably comfortable, but we need to be very alert.
With inflation falling faster than expected at 4.1%, heading towards the Reserve's target band of between 2 and 3. The question, when will it start cutting interest rates?
Do we have to be in the band at 2.5% before we think about doing that? No, I don't believe we do.
Changes in official rates take about 6 months to have full effect. Just as the RBA increased them quickly to stop inflation going too high, it might now cut them sooner to ensure inflation doesn't fall too low, seeking what it calls a soft landing.
As long as it's around that 3 to 3.5% mark, I'd say that they would be more likely to cut.
And when could that be?
At this point, I'd say it would be about May.
Although opinions on that do vary.
We think that the Reserve Bank will be at that point to cut rates in September.
Michelle Bullock told the committee the changes to the Stage 3 tax cuts won't be inflationary changes, now supported by both sides of politics. They're still fighting about it though.
The difference between us and the previous plan is that we haven't left people behind. We don't say, oh, you're earning under $45,000, you don't deserve $1.
The Prime Minister said his word is his bond, and he promised on 100 occasions that he would support the Stage 3, but he broke his promise. He's destroyed his credibility.
Both sides digging in.
Political editor Mark Riley is in Canberra. Mark, some embarrassing video of one of our more colourful politicians has emerged.
Yeah, and no real surprise that it's Barnaby Joyce in the middle of yet another controversy, this time lying on his back on the footpath after a long night out in the Canberra entertainment district of Braddon during the week after Parliament. These pictures circulating pretty widely through Canberra tonight. Mr Joyce told me today that he was sitting on a planter box and slipped off while talking to his wife Vicky on the phone and decided to lie on his back and continue the conversation, letting rip with a few expletives, but only, he said, about himself and what a dill he'd been to slip off. He says he was unharmed other than a slightly bruised ego, and strangely or not, this will probably just enhance his reputation among his supporters, who know him as an often erratic, knockabout character.
Indeed.
Ange.
OK, thanks so much, Mark Riley.
The US President Joe Biden has been forced into a fiery defence of his memory and mental capacity after his own Justice Department raised serious questions about both. The 81-year-old called an extraordinary news conference, which only seemed to make things worse.
It's been the President's elephant in the Oval Office.
My memory is fine.
Today, his age erupted as an issue. A special counsel investigating documents Mr Biden kept after he finished as Vice President, recovered years later, some in his Delaware garage. The report largely clears him
that no charges should be brought against me in this case.
Special Counsel Robert K. Herr concludes the case involved serious risks to national security, but Joe Biden likely forgot he had the documents. No criminal charges are warranted. Mr Biden would likely present himself to a jury, as he did during our interview with him, as a sympathetic, well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory.
For any extraneous commentary, they don't know what they're talking about. It has no place in this report.
Angered
Mr. President, let me answer your question.
by a suggestion he was sloppy with government secrets.
I did not share classified information. I did not share it.
Upset at claims he couldn't remember the year his son Beau died.
I don't need anyone to remind me when he passed away.
Defiant, and then a simple mistake, confusing the president of Egypt with
the president of Mexico, Sisi.
Ahead, 9 punishing months before Americans elect their next president, during which Joe Biden must convince them he can do the job right through until he's 86 years old. In the United States, Tim Lester, 7 News.
Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin has given a rare interview with a Western broadcaster, the controversial right-wing commentator Tucker Carlson, who was sacked from Fox News last year. The 2-hour talkfest was broadcast on Carlson's own internet network, with most interest, of course, on Ukraine.
Why don't you just call Biden and say, let's work this out?
What's there to work out?
The interview and Carlson has been condemned by governments around the globe.
Authorities are making a dent in the illegal vape trade with another huge seizure this week. But an election promise to put vape detectors in every school has now been scrapped after being ruled too expensive.
In the crackdown on illegal vapes, another successful raid. Border Force seizing more than 200,000 disposable vapes from homes, storage units and tobacconists in Sydney suburbs. But one place vapes could slip through undetected is schools, as the government backflips on an election commitment.
We've also announced more money to make sure that e-cigarette detectors are available in New South Wales schools.
That plan up in smoke.
In a lot of cases, they don't work.
Rolling out the technology to 80,000 public school bathrooms could cost up to $800 million.
I think parents would be disappointed with us if we spent $800 million on something that didn't work.
With students ducking detectors by vaping elsewhere, or
kids vaping and then keeping the vapour in their mouth. That's obviously very dangerous.
What concerns me is that they got it so wrong in the beginning and weren't listening to any of the experts.
Principals can still choose to install the vape detectors, but they will be left to foot the bill. And at $10,000 per unit, they're not cheap.
We won't be spending that money because it's not the right use of money in our system.
Taylor Aiken, 7 News.
Perth fire crews are battling a raging inferno south of that city. They could do little as the industrial warehouse went up, raining fire. It started on a conveyor belt and spread very quickly within minutes. The black smoke visible right across that city, with concerns of toxic fumes.
A radical plan to widen Parramatta Road has been torn up after news almost 200 properties would be demolished or have land reclaimed. With countless years of delays and ideas, residents along the strip tonight remain in limbo.
Dilapidated, run down, unloved. Parramatta Road falling apart. For decades, waiting to be rescued.
Many of the owners of these buildings don't know what's going to happen, and most of them, that's why they're not spending money to fix it. And you can see on the road there's many businesses gone.
Transport planners have proposed slicing through 196 properties from Leichhardt to Five Dock to make way for a rapid transit lane.
It's a big shock after all this hard work and money that invested in this business.
Under the plan, businesses and homes would need to be demolished in the same part of Sydney that had to make way for WestConnex.
Even though Parramatta Road is very narrow, the community was promised that once WestConnex opened, we would be able to use some of that existing road space for public transport.
Built more than 200 years ago, Parramatta Road has long been a target of transport planners and ministers.
For the long-term transformation of what is a horribly blighted and congested corridor.
Today, the current roads minister denied the widening proposal is actually government policy.
The government says no one would say transport planning here is working, but any change would need public consultation, leaving Parramatta Road in a holding pattern.
Sydney's ugly duckling.
As long as Parramatta Road remains a traffic sewer.
Chris Maher, 7 News.
Queen Camilla has given an update on King Charles's health, saying he's doing extremely well after his cancer diagnosis.
Camilla made the comments as she returned to work attending a charity event, while Prince Harry made a speedy trip back to the United States.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex.
British royalty in Sin City.
It's an honour to be with you all tonight. I really love how you stole rugby from us and you made it your own.
The star guest at American football's Man of the Year Awards.
I'm just shocked. That's Prince Harry.
After the whirlwind trip to see his father tonight on duty as a celebrity, as Queen Camilla and the Prince of Wales fulfilled royal duties while King Charles is treated for cancer. The weather was bleak even by British standards. Her chopper from Sandringham a no-go. Queen Camilla made the 5-hour car trip to be at this Salisbury Cathedral.
I do hope His Majesty's doing well, Mum. We're all really sad to hear the news.
Well, he's doing extremely well under the circumstances, and he's very touched by all the letters and messages.
The King attended more than 500 engagements last year. For now, he's staying put at Sandringham. Isolation crucial.
Because when you're having cancer treatment of any kind, infection must be avoided.
A rock through it all, Camilla was at the hospital every day while the King underwent treatment for an enlarged prostate. Tonight, she was in the spotlight solo, as Princess Anne lightened the mood.
You will eat it if I cut it, because otherwise it's just legalised vandalism.
The royals rallying as the King's health battle begins. In London, Ashley Mullaney, 7 News.
Sydney's concert season kicks off tonight with a bumper crop of big names helping pour millions of dollars into local coffers. Live to Grace Fitzgibbon at Allianz Stadium. Looking very pink. Grace, pink is the first major star taking the stage.
She certainly is, Ange, and have a look at all of these fans. Pink officially kicking off the start of her 20-concert Australian tour right here. 40,000 fans tonight, 900,000 by the time she is done. They have been lining up all day, and she's not the only big star to hit Sydney this summer.
The countdown is over, and these fans are tickled pink.
We love you, Pink!
Kicking off the start of the pop star's Australian tour, 40,000 ticket holders ready to get the party started.
I'm trouble! Yeah, trouble now!
Super fans lined up outside Allianz Stadium all day to snag the best seats in the house.
We got here at midnight last night, so we've been camping out
over 12 hours now.
And it's just important to secure a good spot, so you just do the time.
The first of a lineup of stars, Pink, soon to be joined by Blink 182 and Taylor Swift. Their army of fans expected to spend between $750 and $1,000 each while they're here.
This is what people save up for. This is, for many people, a once in a lifetime. They're not going to miss the chance.
Taylor Swift's impending tour pouring $220 million into the local economy. Fans have already forked out $126 million on tickets.
Great for the people of New South Wales, great for the economy.
The funding floodgates now open after the state government lifted a 4-concert cap at Allianz Stadium, now allowing 20 shows a year.
Gives us greater opportunity across the board. We certainly don't want to be turning people away.
Grace Fitzgibbon, 7 News.
Going to be a big night there. Time to check the forecast now. It's welcome back to Sally Bowrey. Sal, clearly a Pink fan with your shoes there.
I am. I might sing for you later on too, Michael, if you ask nicely. Well, weather-wise today, that cloud did a pretty good job of blocking out the sun across the city, so temperatures were generally on the mild side compared to what we've seen recently. This is how the day unfolded across Penrith today. It was pretty sunny and nice. We saw warm tops of 27 degrees. It was cooler along the coast. That was thanks to the cloud and also those southerly winds with tops of 24 degrees at Manly today. Across the state, we also saw some scattered showers just around the northern coast and adjacent ranges. Not heavy falls there, just the odd shower or two just brushing into the rest of the coastal areas too. 23 at Newcastle, a warmer 31 at Dubbo. Generally, temperatures were below average today, though, thanks to those fresh southerly winds. In Sydney, it'll be partly cloudy tonight. Slight chance of a shower, particularly along the coastal areas. A low of 19 degrees this evening for Fairfield. We do have a few showers on the way this weekend. I'll tell you when and where they'll hit with your 7-day forecast very soon, guys.
Okay, thanks so much, Sal.
Later.
Olympian James Magnussen has indicated he'll compete in the so-called drug games. It's an event organised along Olympic lines but with no drug testing. World records expected to tumble.
Trains delayed when a guard falls onto the tracks. We'll have the latest on her condition.
Dancing dragons and light shows. Sydney gears up for Lunar New Year.
A big funding boost for killer drones for our armed forces.
And later, the Sydney clinics helping patients access medicinal cannabis. Thank you for watching 7 News. Sydney commuters faced almost an hour of train delays this morning after a guard fell onto the tracks at Burwood Station. Paramedics treated her for leg injuries before she could be safely removed. She was taken to Concord Hospital, where she's now in a stable condition. Trains on the Inner West and Northern Line were forced to stop, causing long waits for commuters.
Two-time Olympian James Magnussen says he's ready to dope himself to the gills for a shot at more than $1 million. That's what's on offer if he can break a world record at the Enhanced Games, an elite competition where athletes are being encouraged to take performance-enhancing drugs.
James Magnussen.
Dual Olympian, multi-medalist, former world champion, now a new title. The first athlete to sign up for the controversial Enhanced Games.
Started off a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but now it's grown wings.
And he's not ashamed to admit why.
First and foremost, it's cash.
$1 million US, 1.5 million Australian to join the most radical experiment in world sport, competing while on performance-enhancing drugs.
I am a proud enhanced athlete.
The missile has to break the 50-metre free world record. 6'7", 32 years old, retired.
History says that it's behind me. The Enhanced Games say it's not.
The Enhanced Games is serious big business, backed by the co-founder of PayPal and the brainchild of an Australian.
He's signing up to be the first athlete who truly believes in science.
They plan to stage their games next year. Some call it unsafe, untested, even un-Australian.
For health reasons alone, we would say to athletes, just give this a wide berth.
Absolute madness. If someone that is performance enhanced and breaks a world record, is it really a world record?
The Enhanced Games team say that drugs use is so prevalent in world sports it might as well be accepted professionally. Instead of banning and punishing doped athletes, they say they want to celebrate and pay them.
It's going to unleash the full potential of humanity.
The idea has been mocked before.
The first all-drug Olympics opened today in Bogota, Colombia. Athletes are allowed to take any substance whatsoever before, after, and even during the competition.
Faster, stronger, and certainly higher. Chris Reason, 7 News.
The Premier's signature housing policy is under a cloud tonight after a senior planning official was accused of corruption. Liberal MP Alistair Henskins used parliamentary privilege to accuse the bureaucrat of using insider information to buy a home on the North Shore in an area slated for rezoning. The official then allegedly approached neighbours to form a property syndicate to sell to investors. The Premier has referred the allegations to the ICAC.
There'll be no crowds on the harbour and no fireworks at midnight, but for many in Sydney, it's New Year's Eve. The Lunar New Year will be marked tomorrow in what's now one of the city's biggest celebrations and biggest money spinners.
For the Year of the Dragon, a fire in the belly.
This event is viewed by nearly 1 billion people worldwide. Sydney, we know how to throw a party and it's fantastic.
Chinatown hosting the biggest party outside Asia. On Dixon Street, they were already setting up today, but the celebrations in all forms are already underway. This year, it's all about fortune.
Dragon means vitality, energy, positive and invigorating. So this coming year will encompasses all that.
And family.
We're going to have a big family dinner tonight.
Everybody is happy.
I will eat dumplings with my family.
It all starts tomorrow at Chinatown, a festival of food and entertainment from 5 p.m. The same at Parramatta Square starting at 4. And at the Doonside Chinese Gardens, a 5 p.m. start with fireworks at 9. At Burwood, it runs all day for 2 days.
It's really diverse, it's vibrant, it's still very traditional.
They say big meals bring big fortune, and some of the luckiest foods include fish for prosperity, noodles for longevity, fruit for health, and of course, dumplings for wealth.
The celebrations in Sydney date back 200 years, but this year will be the biggest, 1.5 million from around Asia and Australia. And if it's your first time,
Kung Si Fat Thai, Happy Lunar New Year.
Lucy McLeod, 7 News.
Yes, and great celebrations this weekend. Well, former Manly coach Des Hasler has taken to the stand at the inquest into a player's death. Keith Titmus collapsed after a pre-season training session. His emotional message for Keith's shattered parents.
The latest figures showing just how much we're paying on card surcharges.
A volcano erupts, threatening a world-famous tourist attraction.
And soon in sport, the priceless moment the NRL went Hollywood, The Rock holding a Steeden in Vegas.
Former Manly coach Des Hasler has given evidence at the inquest into the death of Keith Titmus, a young Manly player who died from suspected heat stroke at a cardio session in 2020. The NRL coach telling the late player's shattered parents he shared their heartbreak over the loss of the rising star. He also told the coronial inquest it was a challenging session, rating the intensity at a, quote, 6 or 7. The inquest will continue next week.
There are a few cents here and a few cents there, but data out today shows how much card surcharges are now costing us at shops. More and more retailers are imposing a fee, typically 1.5%. With food and beverage the worst, 1 in every 2 businesses is now charging more. Needless to say, it is all adding up. For most of us, around $140 a year. In fact, card surcharges are now a $4 billion industry for banks and others who provide those payment terminals at the shops. Some are calling for Australia to follow Europe and ban the practice. And Reserve Bank Governor Michelle Bullock is listening, flagging tighter laws. One thing's for sure, cash is no longer king, with 87% of purchases now made on card. And while some stores, like this one, are pushing a cash comeback, others, like this car dealer, were caught with a cash payment surcharge. It's a sign of the times. For the record, that sign has since come down.
As the war with Russia grinds on, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has sacked his most senior general. The popular army chief was dismissed as part of a shake-up of the leadership of the Ukrainian armed forces. It follows Ukraine's failure to achieve a significant breakthrough in its summer counter-offensive. And a volcano in Iceland has erupted for the 3rd time in less than 2 months. A stream of lava spreading close to the Blue Lagoon, a geothermal spa, forcing the evacuation of the popular tourist attraction.
His portrait hangs in Parliament House. He's been cast in bronze, but now former Prime Minister John Howard has been immortalised in bricks and mortar. A new assembly hall at his old Sydney High School was today named in his honour, and the 84-year-old couldn't be happier.
It's 68 years since he was a student here, and today John Howard returned to Canterbury Boys High School to be honoured by its newest addition.
Very nice to have a hall named after you. That's very kind. But it is. I had a great education here, and it was a great school. Still is. Changed a lot.
What's a favourite memory about this school that comes back?
Oh, probably some of my debating experiences, but I also enjoyed playing rugby union and cricket for the school.
That debating came in handy?
Yes.
Becoming Australia's second longest serving Prime Minister.
And I'd really urge you to take inspiration from that, reminding you that anything is possible if you work hard and you find something that you love.
I wasn't the best student in the class, I wasn't the worst, but I was in the middle. I am grateful for the education I received at this school. It stood me in very good stead.
The hall has been 4 years in the making.
Let us embrace the limitless possibilities that this remarkable facility affords us.
From the halls of Canterbury to the Lodge, John Howard was the first Liberal Prime Minister to have a completely public education.
Along with current students catching up with some of the class of 56, Peter Lowry remembers the debating skills of the future politician.
He was absolutely outstanding as a young boy. He could speak without any notes. We had a lot of fun.
Paul Kadak, 7 News.
The Ghost Bat is a combat drone able to carry a lethal payload, and now more will be built for our armed forces right here in Australia.
Also official recognition for the casino schoolgirl who averted a disaster.
Soon in sport, Aussie selectors cool it on the new batting whiz with one change to the Test squad.
Australia's next generation of air combat will be powered by artificial intelligence. The federal government today announcing $400 million to pave the way for a homegrown unmanned killer drone fleet.
Launched from the outback, designed for the front lines. This is the Boeing Ghost Bat, the first combat aircraft designed and built in Australia in 50 years. An unmanned wingman supporting traditional fighters on dangerous missions.
Australia leads the world in this technology, which teams drones with crewed aircraft to powerful effect.
It's being developed with the United States, currently able to conduct reconnaissance. Today, the government announced a further $399 million to build 3 more, aiming to eventually equip it with weapons and export it to our allies.
It is vital for us to be investing in this sovereign capability in Australia so we understand the technology and we can move rapidly towards it.
Despite development beginning under the previous government, Defence Minister Richard Marles gave Parliament some candid comments about the nation's current defence capabilities, reportedly ruffling some feathers in the Defence Force.
There is a way to go before we have that culture of excellence in the Department of Defence and the Australian Defence Force.
But that is because the Albanese government is weak on national security. There's no new money since last year, there's cuts to capability, the Army is struggling, and there's been a deferral of key decisions.
Boeing is now racing to have it ready for commercial production in 2 to 3 years, equipping our Air Force for an uncertain future. Ben Downey, 7 News.
It's not uncommon in movies for police to commandeer cars for a quick pursuit, but in Perth, an officer has taken possession of an e-scooter to chase down a fast-footed suspect.
Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back. Come out here, put your hands behind your back.
The officer's quick thinking has been recognised with a nomination for an Excellence in Policing award.
Checking finance and investors didn't seem too rattled by what the RBA boss told Parliament, the ASX closing 6 points higher. Building materials company Bowrey stocks surged on massive profit growth, also gains in the tech, communications and healthcare sectors. Energy and mining were down, particularly uranium stocks. The Aussie dollar fell against the greenback, buying below 65 US cents. Gold is also down. And more evidence today that Australians are struggling to afford much more than the essentials. Household spending has dropped to its lowest rate since February 2021, up by just 2.3% through the year to December. Discretionary spending is down more than 0.5% on this time last year, led by dips in spending on recreation goods, furnishing and household equipment.
A school student who averted a disaster when the bus she was on began rolling toward a petrol station has been honoured. Casino High School student Izzy Miller took control of the wheel, steering the driverless bus away from petrol pumps, incoming traffic and pedestrians. That all happened last November. Today, Izzy was presented with the Premier's Award trophy at a school assembly. Good job.
Incredible.
Yeah.
They are the new clinics providing relief for chronic pain, specialise in making it easier for patients to access medicinal cannabis. See the impact it's making on lives. Don't miss that story soon on 7 News.
But first, Matt is here with Sport. Matt, good evening to you. There's relief for the NRL tonight.
Michael and Ange, a lot of sweet talking at the US consulate this week has worked. Reece Walsh and Brandon Smith are going to America. All the day sport is next, including who's big enough to make the Rock stop and hear about the NRL, our man from Bankstown. And the Giants aren't afraid to say it. This is the year it all comes together for an AFL flag. The NRL's Vegas adventure now has the money can't buy Hollywood touch they desperately craved. Armed with a Stars and Stripes Steeden, Bankstown's NFL giant Jordan Mailata crashed a Super Bowl event and stopped The Rock in his tracks.
This is the kind of publicity the NRL has only dreamed of.
I'm Jordan Mailata. How are you, brother? Samoan, Australian. Coming over here March 2nd. Leeds Stadium. Check it out.
Australia's own NFL star Jordan Mailata at Super Bowl's Radio Row.
Well, do you ever feel the ball before?
To promote the NRL's Vegas season opener, The Rock couldn't sidestep the towering 26-year-old.
I'm not playing. Not anymore, man. Play for the birds. I should say like that. Very grateful for the NRL. I'm never going to wash his hand ever again. I can't dap you up.
I want to touch it.
Are you kidding me? It's just a regular guy, man. You know, he's down to earth, man. Just let him be. Let him be. Did he feel like? Oh my God!
Growing up in Western Sydney, Mailata was a promising player in South Sydney's under-20 side before heading to the NFL. This time last year, he was preparing to play for the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl. Now he's promoting his first love, the NRL.
You know about rugby league? That's rugby. It's rugby league. Dude, this is an awesome opportunity to grow the game here in America. Folks don't have to go down under to watch the game now. Down under is coming up and over. So you guys can see it.
Jaleesa Rapps, 7 News.
He's a legend. America will meet Reece Walsh in all his glory. The Broncos fullback left training with his Yank tank and visa today, along with Brandon Smith, cleared to enter the United States. Playing is a long way off for Tigers back Adam Dewey. A third ACL surgery has taught patience despite being off contract this year.
However long it takes, I'm willing to wait and just keep training hard and working hard and eventually find myself back in the team.
After 3 ACLs and a shoulder reconstruction, the Roosters showed what they think of local junior Billy Smith with a 3-year extension.
Growing up in it, you see how passionate people are about the Roosters.
With Jake and Tom signed through 2026, Manly now have Ben Trebojevic locked in till 2027. For now, Australian selectors are cooling off on batting dynamo Jake Fraser-McGurk. Ricky Ponting's calls to fast-track a David Warner-style Test career met caution today, with Michael Neser the only new face in the squad for New Zealand.
Australian cricket's new golden boy, everyone's talking about Jake Fraser-McGurk.
The talent's there, he's one we're certainly keeping a close eye on.
Dazzling against the white ball, but a Sheffield Shield average of 22 earns a clear directive from selectors.
It's his opportunity to go back and get some really good, consistent performances in Shield cricket's important.
Swing bowling all-rounder Michael Neser will leave newborn twins behind in Australia, hoping to restart a brief Test career.
I think I'm going to have a babysitter on full-time when I'm over there.
Ash Gardner is clear of a hamstring injury and Lise Perry over illness for tomorrow's decisive third one-dayer against South Africa at North Sydney Oval. Crowds have disappeared, but the skipper's understanding.
It is expensive to live at the moment, so I'm not 100% certain whether that's a factor. I'm sure over time we'll get people back to the game, which is important.
14 years after Mitch Marsh made his name as captain, another shot at World Cup glory for the Australian under-19s. Into Sunday's final against India, scraping past Pakistan with a 17-run last wicket stand.
He doesn't get it, and only the coolest heads prevail here in Benoni.
Nah, never in doubt. Had full faith in Fids and Raf to get the job done.
James Manton, 7 News.
Gaining respect and going all the way are the goals for the Giants this AFL season. A second pre-season to perfect the Orange Tsunami game plan and a number 1 draft pick growing into his formidable frame make it very realistic.
Cooler today, but intense match practice still produces heat. Blue Mountain's search and rescue missions, perfect motivators after being robbed last year of a grand final berth by a point, burning all summer.
It's an interesting tie-in. Yes, it does.
I think we'll definitely take last year's loss as motivation.
Collingwood 1-point winners over the Giants in the grand final qualifier. The Magpies then winning the flag. Sydney born and bred Jack Buckley better for the loss.
I don't think it's
ever great if you tell other people how competitive you are. You sort of show how competitive you are through the actions.
2022 top draft pick Aaron Cadman signing long-term. The Giants, the Victorians' new family.
They're my brothers and I love them.
The 19-year-old coming of age is the Giants' go-to in their forward line.
So I just got to keep working and hopefully I will be the man down forward.
Game 1 of the season is exactly a month away against who else but Collingwood. And before a ball's kicked in anger, the Giants are already talking about going one better this year.
Yeah, I think our brand of footy is pretty exciting. Like I know we play it with a fast manner and a hard defence, so I think every club would have to respect that.
If we can come into this year firing, I don't see a reason why we can't go all the way.
Andrew McKinlay, 7 News.
And Masters champion John Rahm might be in for a shock when he arrives in Adelaide to play the raucous Live tournament from April 26.
I have yet to meet an Australian who's not nice, so I'm really looking forward to going back to Australia.
The big Spaniard still adjusting to golf, but louder with testy moments in a 2-under start in Las Vegas this morning. 5 behind Paul Casey and Harold Varner. Rain spoiled the opening round of the PGA Tour's Phoenix Open, but not before Aaron Baddeley made birdie at golf's original stadium hole. Jordan Mailata, how cool is he? The kid from Bankstown just living the dream and in his element over there, isn't he?
And he's not washing that hand.
No, no way.
And he must be massive. He towered over the rock.
Yeah, the rock's tiny, isn't it?
Yeah, tiny. Okay,
Cheers.
thanks, Maddie.
Thanks.
New rapid medical cannabis clinics are providing instant relief for Australians suffering chronic pain, sleep problems, even anxiety.
They're helping patients get assessed and treated in under an hour.
38-year-old Hayley Menz suffers from crippling anxiety that stopped her from leaving her home.
Normally I wouldn't be able to stand here talking to you or anybody. Just with my anxiety, I'd be a shaking mess.
2 months ago, on the advice of her doctor, she started taking medicinal cannabis.
That's made a massive difference.
Using the Can I Help telehealth clinic, she was assessed by a nurse and a specialist doctor, written a prescription and had her treatment applied all within 1 hour.
I couldn't believe it was that quick.
We spare people a lot of worry and a lot of anxiety, and we can get on with trying to improve their health as quickly as possible.
The rapid service can be accessed from home anywhere in Australia, taking the pain out of pain relief.
There's been no change in the quality. It's still a very high quality assessment.
15,000 new patients a month are turning to the alternative medicine. This facility alone pumping out 6 tonnes of medicinal cannabis products a year.
Can produce about 130 kilograms every 8 weeks, and at the moment we're servicing over 50,000 Australian patients.
While Australians now spend $400 million a year on medicinal cannabis products, of the 700 available in the country, 90% are imported. Now local manufacturers like A&TG are making gummies, pastilles and oils to provide relief.
Pain and chronic pain, sleep, anxiety, PTSD, we're seeing a vast array of scripts.
And helping sufferers see the light. Samantha Heathwood, 7 News.
Sally's back now, and Sal, how's the weather looking this weekend?
Well, Ange, there's a chance we'll see a bit of wet weather, unfortunately. I'll tell you just how much rain we can expect and when it will fall with our 7-day forecast next.
Tonight's 7 News headlines. Former rugby union star Curtly Beal has been found not guilty of sexually assaulting a woman.
A freak accident has left a woman with serious injuries after she was struck by an out-of-control car at Randwick.
And US President Joe Biden has been forced into a fiery defence of his memory and mental capacity. Well, now here's Sally with Sydney's weather. Sal.
Thank you very much, guys. Well, cloud cover and cooler winds stop things from warming up too much today, and that'll pretty much be the setup this weekend as well. Today we reached a top of 24 degrees in the city just before 3 o'clock. The milder weather was thanks to the clouds and also that cooler southerly airflow, which we particularly saw along the coast. Away from the water, though, things warmed up to a fairly delightful 29 degrees in Penrith and 28 at Richmond. Let's look to the skies. We've seen just a few scattered showers along our shorelines today, particularly for the northern coast and adjacent ranges. A high is keeping the bulk of the state fairly rain-free at the moment and sunny too, but we do have those fresh south to southeasterly winds predominantly along our shorelines. Tomorrow those cooler winds will continue, and then we've got a trough just moving over the northern inland parts of the state, but it's the second trough that we are watching because that's going to bring about a southerly surge. It'll move north along the coast over the weekend, and that will help really trigger a burst of showers through that eastern corner of our state. The wettest weather is going to be in the bullseye around that northeastern corner of New South Wales. Flying around the capital cities for the start of the weekend, 29 into Brisbane, fairly warm through most of the southeast indeed, 31 degrees for Adelaide, 27 in Melbourne. The West Coast beats us though at the moment, 41 degrees in Perth with sunny skies expected. New South Wales tomorrow can expect to see some scattered showers along the coast. That'll push just into the hills and ranges. It'll be widespread for parts of the northern coast, particularly in the afternoon and evening hours. That's when we'll see things really amplify and ramp up, possibly heavy falls also for this pocket as well. So that is something to keep an eye on. We might just pick up the odd shower and storm too, and that will just push up those rainfall totals, and that'll push into the western slopes and southern ranges as well. The rest of the state tomorrow, dry and sunny is the story. Batemans Bay, 21 degrees. Tomorrow, Sydney will be cloudy with the chance of a few showers. The heaviest falls will be for the coastal suburbs of Sydney. Temperature-wise, we're looking at tops of 25 degrees for both Liverpool and Parramatta. Richmond also 25, a cooler 23 degrees tomorrow at Cronulla. Speaking of on the water, tomorrow on the water we've got southerly winds just gusting around 30 knots. They'll swing more southeast. The swell's just sitting around 1.5 metres at the moment. Slight chance of a shower this evening. That'll most likely be near the coast. A low of 21 degrees tonight. Tomorrow, 26 and cloudy with a shower or two. Same again on Sunday, really a repeat performance. Monday it'll start to warm up and dry up as well. Tuesday looking pretty nice at this stage, 32 in the west. Then we've got some showers and storms creeping in towards the end of the week. We're not expecting huge rainfall with that though, guys.
Okay, thanks so much, Sal. That is 7 News for this Friday. We'll have updates for you throughout the evening.
Weekend Sunrise starts from 7 tomorrow from all the 7 News team. Thanks so much for your company. Have a great Friday night.
Good night.
Stream 7 News anytime, live and on demand on 7plus. And with 7news.com.au, you'll know the news now.